Hi, Pete.
I don't work for the MMQB
I know,
anymore.
my bad.
Come on.
You know, old habits die hard. It was just such a, foregone conclusion that the Monday morning quarterback. It's like me at ESPN. I don't work at ESPN anymore, but people think I do.
Well, I mean, does anybody ever say, hey, it's Dan Patrick of NBC's Football Night in America?
No, they don't.
They haven't said that in a while.
No. They say, oh, hey, I loved you on SportsCenter. Or, hey, I watch you every morning on SportsCenter. All right, the official introduction, Peter's NFL column, Football Morning in America, every Monday exclusively on NBCSports.com. All right, I was wondering about Russell Wilson's leverage. He said last night that was it. Midnight deadline, or else then he wasn't going to sign a contract. So what were the other options that could have happened here?
I mean, I think the Seahawks felt all along we are not giving him a percentage of the salary cap. They made that clear to him, and then he had to make a decision. Russell Wilson is one of the ultimate nice guys. You know, he's a non-confrontational guy off the field, and I think it would have been very hard for him, Dan, to basically do what I thought he and his agent really wanted to do, which is play the next 3 years, year by year, just like Kirk Cousins did with Washington, forcing his way onto the free agent market where he got a totally guaranteed $84 million 3-year contract. But I think at the end of the day, Russell Wilson was just really uncomfortable with that. I don't know this for a fact, but that's what I believe, that he was uncomfortable for that. And last night, late, he basically said, let's make the best deal we can. Now, that is my gut feeling. The only thing I know is that when I woke up this morning, his agent, Mark Rogers, texted and said, my guy really wanted to be a Seahawk. Okay. So that's how I think it happened.
I still go back to the Jimmy Fallon appearance. So a month ago, he's on Fallon. And I was saying to the audience, what happens is you have a producer who does a pre-interview with you. Hey, what would you like to talk about? I get the feeling Russell Wilson on March 15th is on Jimmy Fallon, or his people said, hey, you know what? Maybe we start the rumor or continue the rumor. You want to play in New York. You want out of Seattle. You'd like to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. To me, it came out of nowhere, that Jimmy Fallon show, and you can tell the producer what you want to talk about. I think Jimmy Fallon deserves a little piece of this Russell Wilson contract.
I don't know. It could be.
It came out of nowhere, Peter.
Well, but does Jimmy Fallon, and again, I don't even know Jimmy Fallon. I mean, I've watched the show occasionally, but is he a football fan? Does he know things like this? Would this just be, hey, you want to go play for, pick a team?
Well, no, what happens is you get,
I understand.
You get a card.
I do understand that. But what I'm saying is I'd bet a lot of money that if you asked Russell Wilson right now, okay, his number one preference right now would have been to stay in Seattle and either to finish his career with Seattle or to basically be like Peyton Manning or Brady and play the vast majority of his career with Seattle. And the reason is that I believe that it would have been very hard, and he understands it would have been very hard. What could the Giants have given the Seattle Seahawks in trade for Russell Wilson? 4 ones? I mean, think about it. I'm not saying that would even be stupid, but do you think Dave Gettleman or anybody, any modern general manager would say, we'll give you 4 ones for Russell Wilson?
No.
He deserves 4 ones, but would anybody do it? I think no. Russell Wilson knew all along that for the next 3 years, he was only playing for the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, but there was a reporter rumor out there. Colin Cowherd was saying he's hearing that Russell Wilson wants out of Seattle, so his wife has more opportunities in New York. And I thought, well, we're going to find out how badly he wants out of New York if Seattle ponies up the right money. Apparently, he's staying now he's staying in Seattle. Does his wife still want to be elsewhere, or does I don't
have any idea. I don't cover wives, but Dan, I can just tell you this: the agent and the player all along knew that there was virtually zero chance that they were not going to be on the Seahawks for the next 3 years. That is really, in my opinion, one of the things that motivated this. The only thing, if I were, and I understand Russell Wilson, I wouldn't say he caved. I would just say He understood. He made the best deal for himself right now. The only thing I would say with Wilson is that, so he's been on the Seattle Seahawks for 7 years. There's been 125 games that he has played in that time. He's played in every Seahawk game he's ever been on the team for. And so he's taken a tremendous beating at times because his offensive line at times has stunk. And he's not a big person, and he's taken a tremendous amount of punishment. And for the next 5 years, everybody should understand, this is a 4-year deal starting in 2020. Russell Wilson is committed to the Seahawks for the next 5 years because he's playing the last year on his old contract at $17 million. Then the new contract starts. So in essence, Russell Wilson has a 5-year contract for $31 million, right, starting today. But my point is, Russell Wilson will be eligible for his next contract in the season that he turns 36.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying this is his last deal, because I don't think it is. He wants to play into his 40s just like Brady. My question is, how much of wear and tear will there be on that body? And he's not a big guy. And how much will he have left at age 36?
Who is closer to another Super Bowl? Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, or Andrew Luck with his first one right now?
Andrew Luck, by far.
Yeah.
First of all, the Colts have the best team of those three teams right now. And, I mean, unless the two Smiths, Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, give the Packers the pass rush that they've been lacking. But, Dan, I mean, over the last 4 years, essentially, Aaron Rodgers is a 500 quarterback. Now, you can say quarterback wins don't matter, but, I mean, he has not been the magic formula over the last, Olympiad, over the last 4 years. And then you look at Russell Wilson, and they've got to rebuild that defense on the fly. Their best pass rusher wants $1 jillion, or he wants out. So there's problems with both of those franchises now. And I trust right now, as much as anybody, Chris Ballard, to build a franchise around a really good quarterback. I mean, this is a team that won 10 games last year and is in strong position in the draft this year to get significantly better.
He's Peter King, not to be confused with the Peter King with the Monday morning quarterback. It's a new and improved Peter King, the football morning in America. It starts to feel, and you know this better than anybody, that as you lead up to the draft, the fog starts to clear, the smoke starts to dissipate, and then you start to get a little more truer opinion on some people here. Where are the Cardinals on Kyler Murray?
I don't know. I mean, I wish you had said, so what do you think of this draft? I would have said I had no clue. Because, Dan, I'll tell you what has happened the last 3 or 4 years particularly. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, there's a team in the top 10 this year whose general manager told me, said, I know I've helped you in the past. I'm not talking to anybody in the days before the draft.
Why?
So because he is afraid of influencing in any way what might happen before or during their pick. And there's a bunch of scared rabbits out there right now, quite honestly. At the top of the draft, I can't tell you how many people are not talking at the top of the draft. So I just think it's starting to be an odd time in forecasting the draft. I'm doing my mock draft next Monday. I only do one. And I'm doing it next Monday. And the one thing I'm going to write is, listen, this draft is going to look absolutely foolish at midnight on Thursday. Because it will. I'll get 2 or 3 right if I'm lucky. Because this is not like it used to be. When I remember, I won't tell you who it was, but somebody who had the 14th pick in the draft one year said, put us down for John Doe. And I said, should I really do that? He said, no, we're taking John Doe. Dan, he took John Doe. He took John Doe. And I called him after the first round, and I just said, I love you. I said, why did you tell me that? He goes, because we knew he was going to be there. We were positive nobody was going to take him or trade up for him. And so why not say it?
But if you could have an honest conversation with one GM in the draft this year,
Yeah.
or coach, who would it be?
I'd want to have it with Mike Mayock. They got 3 picks in the first round. Michael Gelkin of the Las Vegas Review Journal wrote yesterday something really smart that we all should have figured, okay? And he said he doesn't think that Oakland is going to pick a quarterback in the first round. The reason that's so interesting is because, I've been told all along, be careful about giving the Cardinals Kyler Murray. Might happen, but I had a friend of Steve Keim tell me last week categorically, I just don't think they're taking Kyler Murray. I think they're going to trade the pick. They trust their ability to pick players, especially high. I think they're going to go for the bonanza rather than Kyler Murray because they believe that Cliff Kingsbury can coach this quarterback very, very well. Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
So he's going to be 20 or 25% better than what he was, and they're going to have a better team around him, whatever. But look, if it's not the Raiders, who's it going to be? Who would trade up for Kyler Murray if not the Raiders? And I trust Michael Gelkin. He's a very good beat guy. But I would want to know from Mike Mayock, what are you thinking? And if you convinced your head coach, just stay where we are in the top 40. Let's get 4 franchise-altering players rather than try to hit a home run and then have to go trade Derek Carr.
Okay, but let's say you can't trade that number 1 pick.
Right.
If you're Arizona.
Yeah. You got to take Kyler Murray. I think you have to take Kyler Murray.
Okay.
And then what you do is you trade Josh Rosen to Washington, either for whatever, I think they have the 45th pick or something like that, or 76th pick, and get something else back. But that's what I would do. Look, the coach obviously loves Kyler Murray. If you have that pick, I think that you ought to just sit there and take the great quarterback.
I'm also wondering about this, that a lot of times, the draft is top heavy. We want the marquee people, the guys we've seen that we know.
Yeah.
We're not talking about defensive tackles here.
Right.
Is there an impact player that we're missing out on because he doesn't play one of the glamour positions?
It's probably the tight end from Iowa, Hawkinson, who is a really, really complete tight end. And the one reason why I would tell you this, Dan, is that there's a lot of scouts who have gone into Iowa this year, and there is maybe only Nick Saban. When scouts go into a program, they don't trust anybody except maybe Nick Saban. They don't trust any head coach more than Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. Kirk Ferentz is a beloved coach on the trail because he's coached in the NFL. He coached under Bill Belichick. He's had multiple opportunities. If he snapped his finger, he could have an NFL coaching job. He's loved in the NFL. And he believes right now that Hawkinson is the type of tight end who, if you said, you got to be Mark Bavaro. Well, he probably wouldn't be Mark Bavaro as a blocker, but he could be a Gronk type. I'm not saying he'll be as good as Gronkowski, but he's a great two-way tight end. I think the answer to your question is probably Hawkinson or, Quinnen Williams, who obviously is a do-it-all, everything defensive tackle right now.
Bill Belichick said something interesting about trying to gauge how good a college receiver is or tackles, offensive linemen. Like the game is different. Certainly offensive linemen. It feels like it's harder to find those great offensive linemen. Why is it because of what is being taught in college?
Well, if you look at Dan, I don't watch college football, but after the season, I went back and watched a couple of games of Kyler Murray because who is this guy who's got the body of Mookie Betts, who could be the first pick in the draft? Because he's slight.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll play at 207, by the way. I think he'll play at 198. I mean, you want him to be that quick, fast, whip-it guy. But if you watch it, when I was watching some of these things, you watch how wide his offensive linemen are set. Yeah. So you say, well, he only got 5 passes batted down all year. That's less than Haskins and Locke, who are a lot taller than him. So you watch that, but then you say, he's going to have a lot narrower lanes in the NFL. There's 2 things about him that I think worry some people in the NFL. One is that his line will be a little bit more like this than like this, than fanned out like that. And also, his two receivers, CeeDee Lamb and Brown, are two of the fastest guys in tandem I have to imagine that have ever been on a college football team. They both look like they're like Deshaun Jackson. You know, they so often left their coverage in the lurch. And I'm not criticizing Kyler Murray for this, but he had a lot of guys open, you know, last year at Oklahoma.
I thought Haskins did too at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I thought he had some great receivers.
He did. But anyway, the point I'm making is that I believe right now that the offensive line play will be different in the NFL. But look at Kyler Murray's history. He's the smallest guy on the field basically all through high school, and he goes 45-0. He's the smallest guy at Oklahoma, and whatever they go, 14-1. I don't even know what they went. But you know, the guy's lost one game since he was about in diapers. And he figures it out. That's when I was talking to Lincoln Riley, he goes, this talk about his height, he said, I realize these players are better. The NFL is going to be better, and it's a big challenge. But he said, guys like Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, they just don't care. You know, they're going to figure it out. Now, you know, that's easy to say, but I'm probably more I believe in Kyler Murray more than don't.
Pete, good to see you. I know you're busy.
Great seeing you, Dan. Thank you.
It's a Football Morning in America every Monday exclusively at NBCSports.com. Peter, how are your Red Sox doing there?
It's not good. It's not good.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it just is not good. How about? I think this is right. The 6-9 Yankees against the 6-11 Red Sox tonight.
Yeah.
At the Big Ball Yard in the South Bronx.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are you going?
No, I'm not going. But that is so weird to see both teams struggling. Even the Yankees with all their injuries. That's a weird deal. They haven't pitched either. Neither team has pitched.
NBCSports.com. You can read Football Morning in America. Peter's mock draft out next Monday.
Yeah, and it's going to be grim. Please don't read it. I beg you. Beg you. Please don't read my column next week. Then everybody's going to know, see, he's been fooling us all along.
That's the best tease of the year. Don't read his mock draft.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.